one of the things I talk about all the time is that superfood is a marketing term. It's not there's no, there is no like nutritional qualifier to call something a superfood. It's purely a marketing term. So food companies, they can, kind of slap on that superfood label on a food, put it in some greenwash packaging to make it look really eco-friendly and green, and charge an incredible markup because they're suggesting that that food is something that provides some sort of nutritional profile that is unique to that food, and there's no other way you can get that nutrition. So that's a really big way, which most of the time is not true. If you were to compare superfoods, broccoli is
Uh-huh.
just as nutritionally dense as, and even more so than some of these superfoods on the market that claim to just be, the solution to our health and the secret pill. So it really it spans so far, and it has like tendrils that go into so many different areas and, big and small ways.
I was about to buy spirulina, if that's how it's pronounced.
Hmm.
I was like, oh, it's a superfood. I'm not even someone who watches a lot of television or a lot of that, right? But
Hmm.
somehow from media, it got registered in my mind that it's a superfood. It's
Hmm.
something that will cure a lot of ailments, so to say. But now that I'm
Yeah.
hearing you, it's a marketing gimmick, just another marketing gimmick to make more money.
Yeah, and it's not to say that the foods that are labeled as superfoods are things that you should avoid or that there's no value in them. But as
Mhm.
consumers, it's important to know that the label of superfood, it doesn't have any nutritional like qualifiers to be given that. It's purely a marketing term. So yeah, there's definitely benefits to spirulina. It's a great source of vegan protein, for people if they choose to use it. But it's not to say that it's like, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a food that is untouchable, that there's like nothing else that can, support that. And the issue with superfoods as well, and like kind of the promotion of it, is it kind of gentrifies nutrition because a lot of the times those foods are more expensive than other groceries. And, it can make people feel like they don't have the income bracket to be healthy. And that's where I feel like it can be problematic as well
Mhm.
because there are
Wow.
a lot of more, there are a lot of like more affordable grocery items that are more than adequate enough to help us meet our nutritional needs. And
Mhm.
if we are being told all the time that we need these superfoods and these supplements in order to be healthy, it can be extremely disempowering for people that might not have the income or the spare money to spend on those foods, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, let's compare some superfoods. Just
Hmm.
as you name certain superfoods which are expensive, highly marketed these days, and a
Hmm.
common sort of not a substitute, but a parallel that you can draw in a daily life for that food
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah. Let's see. It's hard because I don't really shop for superfood specifically anymore. Um, I like the one that I'm thinking of is like an acai berry. Are you
Mm-hmm.
familiar with those? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great berry. Berries in general are very nutritionally dense, but they are actually, you can get the same benefits from eating blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, right? Which are
Okay.
so readily available, at least in the United States where I am. They're readily available. You can buy them frozen. If you go to like my local supermarket, my local like more kind of health food, like a Whole Foods, a bag of blueberries is going to be significantly cheaper than a bag of frozen acai, but
Mhm.
nutritionally they're very, very comparable. And so that's one example. I like to tell people too is like if you don't like quinoa, you don't have to eat quinoa. And quinoa is a wonderful, it's wonderful because it's a whole protein. So for people who are vegetarian or vegan, it's a great grain because it does provide all of the amino acids that we need from our proteins. But there's other ways to get those as well. You can do rice and beans. You don't have to spend money on these sort of inflated costs of certain things because they've been labeled as a superfood.
Yeah. In India, we
Hmm.
have a lot of millets
Hmm.
locally sourced, and I've heard that even like quinoa, it's a local thing. So of course, it's more beneficial. It's going in the
Right.
terrain here, and it's
Yeah.
much cheaper, Emily. Much much cheaper. Like I love quinoa, but I know that okay, I'll have to set a budget aside if I'm
Right,
buying.
right.
If I'm eating as much quinoa as I'm eating rice or other millets.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and the cost is one thing, and also too, I think it's important for people to know that if they don't like a specific food, they don't have to force themselves to eat it because there's always going
Mhm.
to be something out there that they will probably enjoy more that is going to match the nutrition that that food would have brought them.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
diet culture has taught us to think of things in such extremes, right? Where there's just certain foods that are really, really good that we need to eat so much of, and other foods we need to completely avoid. But in reality, like every food has such a unique combination of macronutrients, micronutrients, phytonutrients that can, help us in unique ways. It's not as binary as that, as like good
Mhm.
and bad. And really, it's just about variety. The trick to really being fully nourished and making sure that we're getting our nutritional needs is just to have variety in our diet. You know, you can make the most healthy, quinoa bowl, right? With black beans and bell peppers. But if you only ate that every single day for your entire life, there is a lot of nutrition you'd be missing out on from other foods.